Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Retro Wrestling Review Series, Season 8, Episode 1. This is going to obviously be the season premiere because it's the first episode of a season. That's why it's called a season premiere. And I'm actually pretty excited for this season just because of the fact that this is a season actually has an exciting series to do. And I haven't had that series just yet. I had it a little bit with the Royal Rumble, but I didn't get to go as far in the Royal Rumble review series as I wanted to. But I have it here, and this series is going to be the NXT Special review series. Pretty much every special for NXT that's ever taken place, I'm going to cover it here. And I'm actually pretty excited about this because every NXT special that has ever taken place I've seen, and when I saw it live, I enjoyed it. And NXT, the specials always deliver, so it's kind of going to be tough for me to decide which one I liked better, whether it's going to be this one or that one. So it'll be nice for me to go back and be able to watch it a second time, and I actually, can't wait to do that. And I'm going to start from NXT Arrival and I'm obviously going to go right up to the most recent NXT special. That would be NXT TakeOver Orlando. And I'm pretty excited about doing this. So let's, before I actually talk about the NXT specials and stuff, let me just kind of talk about NXT and about how NXT became this thing. Because that's kind of important. So obviously, I'm trying to look up when, let me actually look this up real quick. Make sure I have it correct. Okay, so in 2007, WWE decided to have a developmental system. They decided to have something called Florida Championship Wrestling, or FCW for short. And this would be the developmental system. This would be where the superstars would come before they would get up to the main WWE roster. But then something changed. Triple H decided to change all that. Triple H just saw what this developmental system was. It wasn't the best system. It didn't have very good, it wasn't very good structured. They didn't really teach any of the guys the stuff that they were supposed to be teaching them. So Triple H wanted to change that. So he decided, and also around this time, in 2010, WWE introduced NXT. And this is when NXT was kind of like the reality show, like American Idol, where there would be 8 pros, 8 rookies, and the pros would teach these rookies, and whoever won would get a WWE contract. Well, they decided, because NXT was kind of becoming a joke, all the jobbers were just going to NXT. The NXT system that system for NXT wasn't really helping anybody. Triple H decided, because he became COO, well, he was already COO, but he had more of a say of what he wanted. So he wanted to change FCW, and he turned it into NXT. In 2012, he did this. It was in August 2012. They changed the development. They changed FCW and NXT. FCW, I should say, became NXT. And a lot of people were coming from everywhere. They were signed to NXT, and NXT, they had a tournament. They crowned the first ever NXT champion. They crowned the first ever NXT tag team champions, the NXT women's champion. They were doing a lot of stuff. So then what happened is they went on TV really regularly. The only time you had access to NXT was if you had Hulu Plus. Not a lot of people did. So then in February of 2014, it was on February 24th, 2014, the WWE launched the WWE Network. So NXT saw, and probably Triple H and stuff, saw an opportunity to capitalize on this. He wanted to get this brand noticed. So he decided to have NXT go live every Thursday at 8 o'clock Eastern, and this was going to be the first live, like NXT Arrival was the first live special ever to take place on the WWE Network. It was before WrestleMania 30, and it was awesome. I actually ended up watching the show myself Now this was back, obviously, when I watched it originally. I didn't enjoy it as much because this was back when the WWE Network was still fairly new. You had a lot of issues with it, so then I had to go back and rewatch it maybe like a week later, and then I really enjoyed it. Well, I've watched this show maybe 3 times, and this is going to be my 4th time watching it, so I'm pretty excited about it. Actually, when I started doing a Throwback Friday wrestling review series or something, this was one of the shows I actually ended up reviewing. So I'm pretty interested in reviewing the show. This was NXT's chance to kind of get themselves on a big platform, and they did just that, you know. So let me look up the show and kind of look up what type of matches we're gonna have. Let me explain how I'm gonna structure this review first. I'm going to cover that this is NXT. Also in this series is going to be included that this is NXT. That they have on the WWE Network. That kind of shows what NXT is, because that helps. That's going to be covered to that. I'm going to cover that all in separate takes. The pre-show I could not find. I tried to find the pre-show, I really did, but I couldn't find it anywhere. So I have an article on the pre-show, that what happened on it, that I'll just read word for word, and then I'll give my thoughts on that. And then I'm going to review NXT Arrival itself, and then review it after each take. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. So now that I've kind of started to cover that, let's cover what's going to be on the show for matches. We have a singles match. We have 3 singles matches, an NXT Tag Team Championship match, an NXT Women's Championship match, and an NXT Championship match. And if you look at this card actually on paper, this card actually looks pretty solid. And when I actually say what the actual code is, I will explain it more. But that's all for now. I'm going to go watch the This Is NXT part of it. And after each segment, a promo or something, I'll come on here and talk about it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and let's get it started. Alright, so we have the This Is NXT special. What this pretty much is going to be is, this was to the new fans who had watched NXT, like myself at the time. I mean, I had watched clips and stuff, but I hadn't actually watched it every week. This was to introduce them, and the first thing and it's being hosted by Renee Young, and the first thing they show is when they open the WWE Performance Center, and this was like a crazy way of watching this video back. I think they opened this back in, I'm going to say 2013. I want to say 2012, but Triple H didn't cut his hair yet, so I think it was 2013 they opened this. And you have people like Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, and Sheamus hyping this up. I'm surprised they didn't have, like, other superstars doing that, but they didn't. And, you know, they were talking about how this was, like, a new way to train people, because it was. They had 7 wins. They had the coaches. I don't know if they had that part yet, but, you know, they had, like, a bunch of cameras where people could watch them, and it wasn't just training you to become a wrestler. It was training you to become a WWE superstar. They were giving you TV time. There was your own place where you could cut promos and stuff, and it was awesome. And seeing it get open now kind of is weird, because Triple H says this is going to be the future of the business, and ironically enough, it has become the future of the business. This is where people go who want to learn and become WWE superstars. It's kind of crazy now that you think about it. And, you know, they even had the governor of Florida. I actually don't remember his name. I don't know if he's still the governor or not, but it was pretty cool. They even have, like, the Triple H and Stephanie McMahon winning the bell to kind of show that this was, like, the beginning of a new thing. So I thought it was pretty cool. Next, they show all the superstars that have graduated from NXT and joined the main roster. And some of these made me happy. I'd say a lot of them. Some of them made me sad. Some of them made me just kind of eh. So let's kind of talk about these names they point out. You know, we had the Wyatt family, who were huge in NXT. Luke Harper and Eric Rowan were the NXT Tag Team Champions. And obviously Bray Wyatt was the leader of the Wyatt family. They were in roughshod in NXT, came in the main roster. Not so much. Luke Harper, pretty much they won in the main roster. They entered the feud with Cena, and obviously I've talked about it enough on this channel about where my feeling is about Bray Wyatt. He's been in big feuds, but he doesn't win the feuds. He was one half of the SmackDown Tag Team Champions with Randy Orton, and he was also the WWE Champion just to lose it in a couple of months. Boom. Let's take a look at Luke Harper. He won the Intercontinental Championship and then dropped it in a month, and then he hasn't really done anything since then. So good job. Eric Rowan, he just sucks anyway. So, but he really hasn't done a whole lot either. He's done nothing. He got jobbed out by Big Show in a stairs match. What a joke. So the Wyatt family haven't had a lot of success in the main roster. We have the Shield, who had great success in NXT. You know, the one who's had the most obviously was Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins was the first ever NXT champion, and he ran roughshod in NXT. Obviously, Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns weren't there long enough, but Ambrose was wrestling in FCW. Seth Rollins was even, and was also wrestling in FCW, and Roman Reigns originally was wrestling as Leaki, or as I like to say, Leaky, and now he eventually became Roman Reigns and joined up with the Shield, which was supposed to be taken by Cassius Ohno, but then he ended up getting released, and they decided to go with Roman Reigns. But now they're all huge stars. You know, Seth Rollins. The Shield went on to run roughshod on the main roster. They took out everybody. Then eventually the Shield broke up because Seth Rollins broke them up. Seth Rollins went on to win the Money in the Bank ladder match. He went on to become the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. He has gone on to hold both the WWE World Heavyweight and United States Championships. And then he went on to become a two-time WWE Champion. We have Dean Ambrose, who went on to become the United States Champion and is the longest reigning United States Champion in WWE history. He went on to hold the Intercontinental Championship 2 times. He's actually the current Intercontinental Champion. He's become he's won the Money in the Bank ladder match. He's become WWE Champion. We have Roman Reigns, who's become a huge star. He went on to him and Seth Rollins went on to win the WWE Tag Team Championships. He went on to win the Royal Rumble in 2015. Main evented WrestleMania against Brock Lesnar, nearly beat him. Won the WWE. He's a 3-time WWE World Heavyweight / WWE Champion. What else has he done? He's a former United States champion, and he also retired The Undertaker at WrestleMania 33, so fuck you, Roman. And ironically enough, though, the Shield has gone on to dominate. They're now the 3 top guys in the company. Dean Ambrose has obviously, I think, been used the worst, where Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, it's kind of tied who's been used better. I would say maybe Roman Reigns, because they see more potential in him. So that was interesting. They also showed Fandango and Summer Rae, who've done nothing on the main roster in NXT. I don't really know a lot what they... Summer Rae was in a faction with Charlotte and Sasha Banks in NXT called the BFFs, but then she went up to the main roster, was a dancer for Fandango, has done nothing, but I don't really think she's that good anyways. Fandango's done absolutely nothing. He beats Chris Jericho at WrestleMania 29, and then he goes nowhere from that. So, Damian Sandow, that one makes me sad. He went on to win the Money in the Bank. He lost. He's the only Money in the Bank winner to ever legitimately clean lose his title shot. And then he never recovered, and he pretty much is now released, and now he's taking a hiatus from professional wrestling. We have Cesaro, who's become a decent success. He won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, but then he kind of just started to drop out forever. But in NXT, he did really well. He had matches of the year caliber with Sami Zayn, which I'll talk about more so in this video. Because they're going to show his 2 out of 3 falls match that he had with Sami Zayn. And then he eventually, but then in the main roster, like I said, he won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Him and Tyson Kidd, he's a 2-time WWE Tag Team Champion / Raw Tag Team Champion. But yeah, he hasn't really been used to his potential. There's been times where they really could have pushed Cesaro, but they never ended up doing so. So yeah, and then obviously we have Big E Langston, He did a lot of things in NXT. He had the 5 count gimmick where he would, instead of pinning people with a 3 count, he would pin him with a 5 count. And he's a former NXT champion. And now then eventually he even cut a promo about this. He talked about all the gimmicks he's gone through, about everything that he did. He was the bodyguard for Dolph Ziggler and AJ Lee. He had his first match at WrestleMania for the WWE Tag Team titles, but he lost. And then he eventually split up with Dolph Ziggler and AJ Lee. And then he went on to win the Intercontinental Championship. And yeah, he didn't really talk about the stuff he's done recently because this was filmed in 2014. The stuff he's done now hasn't happened. And boy, watching his promo back then, he's certainly definitely improved since then, because now he's with Xavier Woods. Actually, I didn't even really... What a difference in Xavier Woods, too. Xavier Woods is so different watching him now than back then. Back then, he was kind of not really much of anything. And now him and Big E Langston, but now he's just known as Big E. Him and Big E out together with Kofi Kingston in the New Day. They were one of the hottest acts for a while. They are the longest the longest reigning tag team champion of any kind in the WWE. And the Big E Langston and Xavier Woods, what a difference watching them now compared to back then. Back then, there really wasn't much potential there. Xavier Woods was just someone that probably would have gotten released in a month. I'm surprised he lasted as long as he did. Big E Langston was someone was generic back then, but now he's got charisma now. Xavier Woods is awesome. Obviously, I can't look at him the same because he had a little bit too much fun with Paige. So yeah, it's definitely kind of interesting to see where these superstars have gone. Obviously, the most successful one are all 3 members of the Shield, and the least successful one is probably Damian Sandow, because he was not in the company anymore and he's gone. So, and I'd say in the middle is probably maybe Bray Wyatt, because at least he's been WWE champion. So I say Bray Wyatt. I say Cesaro's in the middle too, but Bray Wyatt did get to hold the WWE title, so I'll say Bray Wyatt. But yeah, overall I did like watching some of this, because at least NXT did make some stars. Even though they don't utilize him to his potential, they did make Bray Wyatt into a star, because he did get to hold the WWE title. But it's like, no, the Shield. So that's 3 right there. Cesaro's become a decent star, and Big E and Xavier Woods has become like great mid-coders. So yeah, the only that's interesting. So then they show the first ever NXT Tag Team Champions. They saw the finals of that tournament between British Ambition, which consisted of Adrian Neville and Oliver Gray versus Luke Harper and Eric Rowan. And obviously the British Ambition became the first ever NXT Tag Team Champions, which was kind of weird looking back, because I actually don't know why they wouldn't have the Wyatt family become. I mean, Harper and Rowan eventually became the first NXT Tag Champions, but I guess they wanted to have like a babyface feel-good moment. And obviously they won when Adrian Neville hit the red arrow on Luke Harper. They didn't show the whole match, but they showed a clip of it. But it was definitely pretty interesting to see that all go down. Alright, so next it shows the finals to crown the first ever NXT Women's Champion. And obviously the finals were between Paige and Emma. I mean, how ironic is that? Paige and Emma. Women's wrestling's huge now. With the people they got main eventing, like Charlotte, Sasha Banks. They were main event in pay-per-views. They were in the first ever Hell in a Cell match, first ever Iron Man match on Raw. But technically, they were in the first ever Falls Count Anywhere match. Alexa Bliss and Becky Lynch were in the first ever tables match. First ever steel cage match for the SmackDown Women's title. Bayley and Sasha Banks were actually the ones in the first ever Iron Man match, and they got to really revolutionize wrestling. But the ones that started it were really Paige and Emma. I mean, they were the ones that really kind of started that whole NXT women's revolution. Even though it didn't start when the WWE said it started, but whatever. But you get what I'm saying. And obviously Paige had won. I don't really know if the match was good because I didn't see it live or anything. It just showed the clip. And Paige talking about, how she can't believe she's the first ever NXT Women's Champion, and she says that this is the greatest moment of her life. And it's really weird watching that, knowing how Paige is now. Like, how she's kind of doesn't really want to go back to the WWE. Now she's with Alberto Del Rio, or Alberto El Patron, whatever you want to call him. And now she's married to him. It's kind of weird how 3 years can change. It really is. I'm pretty in shock about it. So, but yeah, Paige was the first ever NXT Women's Champion. It's kind of weird because Sasha Banks, Charlotte, and Bayley were all watching, and they were all really new, and now they're all, I guess I would say, NXT alumni and the veterans. Even though they're technically new on the main roster, but they have been wrestling since 2012, I believe, all of them, at least in WWE, anyways. So it's definitely interesting to see what happened. It's really interesting to see where Paige is gone, and I guess where Emma's gone. Emma's definitely gone to places, but I'll get to that when I get to that match on the show. But this was nice to watch. Okay, so next, Bo Dallas comes up, and he says, "I bet you want to hear about my inspirational journey, about how I became NXT champion when I defeated Biggie Langston," and then he talks about stuff forever. You know how inspirational he is. Man, he sucked. I don't know how I didn't notice it then, but he sucks. But it shows a video package of it of him defeating Biggie Langston for the NXT Championship. It was whatever. I don't know what they ever saw in Bo Dallas. But yeah, they clearly saw something in him. But I mean, obviously he sucks. He's not that great in the ring. He's terrible on the mic. But yet, I just think because he's related to Bray Wyatt, he's related to that whole Rotundo family, I think that's why they see something in him. Okay, so next, the Wyatt family cuts a promo, and Bray Wyatt talks about how this world is defined by men and women who are willing to fight for a cause, and Bray Wyatt says that their reign of terror started down in NXT, and there wasn't one person in NXT who did not know the name or fear the name of Wyatt. And he continues to talk about how people that they define what the word monster was, and he turned heroes into victims. And he said that they took down the higher machine in NXT, and they're going to continue to do the same thing on the main roster, which didn't happen. Okay, so now it shows the NXT superstars that were on the current roster at the time, because now it's 3 years later. They're obviously not now going to be on the roster. And it's kind of ironic watching this back now to seeing what's happened to all these superstars. Obviously, the first one, Tyler Breeze, his gimmick was he was a model in NXT. He thought he was gorgeous. He was the best looking superstar, and I like that gimmick. He had the selfie stick. He would take selfies with people. He would take selfies with himself. He would film himself walking to the ring because he thought it was so gorgeous, which was awesome. And obviously now he's actually in a tag team with Fandango, known as Breezango, and they don't do anything on the main roster. They pretty much job out as much. WWE pretty much jobs them out as much as they can. And one of his cameos, I believe, he asked if he could take a picture with someone, and he's like, sure. He's like, of me. And she's like, oh. And I think that was Alexa Bliss, but I could be wrong. And obviously Alexa Bliss has become a pretty big star. She is the first ever two-time SmackDown Women's Champion, and now she's the current #1 contender to the Raw Women's title, so that's pretty interesting. Then we have Aiden English, whose character was that he wanted to perform on Broadway, so he would sing all the way to the ring and sing about how great he was, which was a really good gimmick. And obviously, that gimmick really didn't get over at first. Now he eventually ended up tag teaming with Simon Gotch and became known as the Vaudevillains, and the Vaudevillains went on to become NXT Tag Team Champions, and then eventually they went on to the main roster to pretty much get one WWE Tag Team title match, and then they were pretty much jobbers, and now Simon Gauze was released, and Aiden English is back to doing that again, which will probably be released shortly afterwards. So yeah. Then we have Mojo Rawley, who was someone that was pretty huge in NXT. He was someone that was the hype man. He was someone that didn't get hyped. He stayed hyped. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah. Now he's gone on to team up with Zack Ryder, known as the Hype Bros. They did they weren't really used all that much, but they were kind of starting to become used a little bit. Then Zack Ryder got injured, so now Mojo Rawley has a singles opportunity. And then he pretty much this year at WrestleMania won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. So yeah, kind of not really much of an exciting thing. He actually has gone on to become decently successful, but he's just not very good. Then we have Bayley. She was the love huggable one in NXT. She loved to hug everybody, which was, I thought, pretty cool. I didn't dig this version of Bayley, but whatever. And now Bayley's gone on to become. She eventually went on to have this chase, which she would go after the NXT Championship. Eventually, she won the NXT Championship, and then she went on to be called up to Raw, and now she is the current Raw Women's Champion. And she went on to defend it successfully at WrestleMania, so that was pretty cool. Sasha Banks was the boss in NXT. She was aligned with Summer Rae, known as the BFFs. But eventually, once Summer Rae got off, Sasha Banks really broke out into her own. She went on to win the NXT Championship. Then she went on to get moved to the main roster. Charlotte and obviously Becky Lynch, who would come in later, would steal the show at WrestleMania 32 and have a great match. And then she went on to become a 3-time Raw Women's Champion, so that's pretty impressive by Sasha. She hasn't been used fully to her potential because she just hasn't. Because when she's held the title, she loses it right afterwards, so that's pretty terrible. Then we have Corey Graves, whose whole gimmick was he wanted you to stay down. He was pretty much, I would say, like a goth gimmick. But obviously then he ended up getting a concussion, so he can't wrestle anymore. So now he went on to do commentary for NXT, and now he does commentary for Raw and SmackDown. And then we have Sami Zayn, who was the heart and soul of NXT pretty much. And his gimmick was that he was an underdog. He would throw everything that he could out to win. And obviously, I'm not going to say where he is now because he's wrestling at NXT Arrival, so I will mention what happened to Sami Zayn later on in the show, like I should have done with Cesaro, so my bad. But yeah, it definitely kind of makes me sad to see this edition of NXT, because out of all these guys, Fandango, well, actually, I shouldn't say, Tyler Breeze is pretty much a jobber. Mojo Rawley's decently successful. He's won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Bayley and Sasha are pretty successful. Aiden English is a jobber. So I already said Mojo Rawley. Corey Graves, I'd say he's successful, but he didn't get to become successful as a wrestler. He had to become successful as a commentator. It's kind of a blessing in disguise because he probably would have ended up like Aiden English or Tyler Breeze. And then Sami Zayn, I'll get into him later. So they've become decently successful. Bayley's been pretty successful. Sasha could have been better. And Mojo Rawley sucks. So yeah. That's the original class of NXT. Okay, so next they show the superstars of the past and stuff, like the that have shown up on NXT. Superstars like Ric Flair, who's shown up with his, obviously because his daughter Charlotte was there. Superstars like Damian Sandow, who was in NXT, but he was a past alumni. Christian hosting the Peep Show. Chris Jericho, who ended up wrestling Bray Wyatt. Mark Henry, who had a confrontation with Sylvester LaFleur because Sylvester LaFleur wanted to manage him. Mark Henry just laid him out with the world's strongest slam. Sheamus, Randy Orton, Rob Van Dam, and Ricardo Rodriguez. John Cena, who was on the Damian Sandow show, and Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy showed up and called him soft, and Cena's like, apparently you're soft, which was awesome. Paul Heyman cutting a promo. Who else was there? Big Show, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and JBL, who all cut a promo together, and Big Show ripped JBL's jacket up. AJ Lee, who was defending the Divas Championship against Bailey. Trying to think who else was at NXT. I guess that's it. So it was pretty cool to watch this. Okay, next we had a Shield promo. And Dean Ambrose talks about how the Shield dominated the WWE in 2013, just like they did in NXT. And they, how he won the United States Championship, and Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns won the WWE Tag Team Championships, and how the Shield only yelled for a year. And Seth Rollins says that it was the Shield's 2013 that helped pave the way for other superstars to be able to be called up to the main roster, to be more victims of the Shield. Obviously, he wasn't right about the second part, but the first part I would say he's right about. If you think about it, the Shield's success, because the Shield was really the first one to be called up from NXT. The Shield's success in NXT allowed other. Well, I messed up. The Shield being successful when they got called up from the NXT allowed other superstars to be called up from NXT, like the Wyatts, like Adrian Neville, like Corey Graves, even though he got called up a different way, like Bo Dallas, even though he hasn't been successful, and even Seth Rollins even mentions the Ascension, which we'll get into who they are later on in the video. So it was interesting. And then Roman Reigns says that the Shield isn't ready to give up the Shield yet, and you better believe that and believe in the Shield. So, yeah, I thought that was a pretty good promo by the Shield, as always. Okay, so then we had a 2 out of 3 falls match. This was the only match on this show. It was Sami Zayn versus Antonio Cesaro, whose name is now just shortened to Cesaro, as I mentioned earlier in this video. So I guess I should mention the reason why this match was happening. The reason why this match was happening was because Sami Zayn had debuted in 2013, and Antonio Cesaro had just defeated someone, and he got cocky, wanted to call out somebody for an open challenge. Sami Zayn came out and accepted, and he was able to upset Antonio Cesaro. He was able to knock him off in a match, and Sami Zayn so this led to the feud between Sami Zayn and Cesaro. They would have tag matches together, and Antonio Cesaro was able to knock off Sami Zayn in a second match, so that since they both won a match apiece, this 2 out of 3 falls match was supposed to settle everything. So that was kind of the main thing behind this match. And we had Alex Riley and Tom Phillips doing commentary for this match. I thought, obviously Tom Phillips now is a terrible commentator. He still is. He was back then, and he apparently likes to face fuck people because he sends messages saying I have a huge boner and I want to face fuck you, and yeah, and he doesn't get fired for it, and he gets paid to SmackDown and pretty much not to do shit. So yeah, and Alex Riley would continue being on commentary. He would go back to being a wrestler for like about a year, get injured, and then eventually he was released in 2016, which sucked for Alex Riley because I thought he had potential. So yeah, but this match, I thought was a great match. This match took place in 2013. This was voted NXT Match of the Year, and so I think this is why they wanted to show this. They wanted to show this to the newer fans who hadn't been exposed to NXT. I think this was the perfect match to show, and I'll just talk about the match. So while Cesaro's making his entrance, Sami Zayn hits a flip dive over the ropes onto Cesaro, throws him in the ring, attacks him, and then he hits a haluva kick on Cesaro, rolls him up, gets the first fall, and this ended up being a surprise, and I kind of like how they had this. They had that big surprise fall, and I kind of like that they had that with Sami Zayn because he was like the rookie, and it showed that that it was a nice surprise win for Zayn. So then Sami Zayn dominates the beginning half of this matchup. He throws Cesaro on the outside. He hits an axe handle from the apron. He throws him into the steel steps, and he just beats the crap out of him. So Sami Zayn just dominates Cesaro. He hits a crossbody on him. Cesaro kicks out. Eventually, Cesaro throws him face first into the top turnbuckle, and this allows Cesaro to dominate the match for a little bit. But then Sami Zayn, he goes to hit a uppercut, but Sami Zayn counters into a drop kick. But eventually, Cesaro gets Sami Zayn into a chin lock, and he spins Sami Zayn around, and then he really gets him into the chin lock, and this causes Sami Zayn to tap out. So then Zayn has the second, so Cesaro gets the second fall, so now it's down 1-1. Now it's down to sudden death. Whoever gets the pinfall wins the match, and Cesaro dominates Sami Zayn. He hits a apron suplex, which was really impressive, and he just crushes Zayn. He hits a double stomp to the ribs. But eventually Sami Zayn starts to make his comeback. Actually, there was a spot where Sami Zayn went to roll up Cesaro, and Cesaro was just much too strong, so he ended up just hitting a suplex on Zayn, which was cool. But Cesaro hits a sunset flip powerbomb, a DDT through the ropes, which was cool, on the outside, and then eventually he tries to go for a tornado DDT. Cesaro counters into an uppercut, and he hits the neutralizer for the win. And Antonio Cesaro ends up winning the 2 out of 3 falls match, which was a great match. I thought both guys really gave it the all. Sami Zayn even ended up actually hitting another halupa kick in the match, which was cool. So I thought this was a really good match. And afterwards, Antonio Cesaro, just to add insult to injury and to show how much of a heel he is, wipes his feet right behind Sami Zayn to kind of show him disrespect, which I thought was really cool. So overall, I thought this was a great match. Okay, so next was a interview segment. Renee Young was conducting a sit-down interview with both Sami Zayn and Antonio Cesaro. Now, the reason why this was happening was because the 2 out of 3 falls match didn't settle anything, because Sami Zayn just couldn't live with the fact that he lost. Sami Zayn, that was just a loss that he couldn't deal with, and he wanted to prove himself. He wanted to prove that he could beat Antonio Cesaro, so he wanted to go to NXT Arrival, and he wanted to face Antonio Cesaro. Antonio Cesaro came out. Originally, he didn't accept the match, so he ended up kicking Sami Zayn's leg out because Sami Zayn had an injured knee. So then it led to this match. Triple H eventually granted Sami Zayn his match because he thought that would be a great match to see. So then they had this interview segment. So that was kind of why it happened. So Renee Young said that the only reason why this interview segment was being conducted under 2 conditions. One condition is that if Sami Zayn put his hands on Antonio Cesaro, he would lose any future opportunities at the NXT Championship. And then Sami Zayn goes, but then Cesaro went on to say that Sami Zayn never will get any opportunities at the NXT Championship. But if Antonio Cesaro laid his hands on Sami Zayn, he would lose his spot into the Elimination Chamber match that was coming up, which you could check out that my Elimination Chamber review right here from Retro Wrestling, from the real one that happened at the time, and then you can also check out my Retro Wrestling review series one, just to kind of see the difference. So Renee Young asks, Sami Zayn if that's going to be an advantage. How his knee is feeling, if his knee 100% medically cleared, and Antonio Cesaro cuts him off by saying that Sami Zayn's never going to be medically cleared ever again to face Antonio Cesaro, and then Sami Zayn says that his knee's actually fine. The doctors have cleared him to compete, and then Antonio Cesaro said there's a difference between being medically cleared and physically prepared. And Renee Young says that, well, yeah, that is true, and then he asks Sami Zayn. Then she asks Sami Zayn if Antonio Cesaro being 4 days removed from the Elimination Chamber match is going to give him any type of advantage. And then Sami Zayn says that. Then Cesaro cuts him off again and says that Sami Zayn's never going to be ready to face him at NXT Arrival. and he's never going to be get any type of advantage on it. And then Sami Zayn goes off and says, "You don't think I know what you're trying to do? You're trying to make this personal by cutting it off. It's already personal. It's been personal. You know, the matches, the insults towards each other." And he said that this is personal because it's professionally personal. Sami Zayn takes this profession personally, and he says that to Cesaro that he is one win away from advancing his career, and he's going to do just that when he defeats Antonio Cesaro, an NXT arrival. And then this causes Cesaro to get pissed off and walk away. But this was a great interview segment. I thought Antonio Cesaro and Sami Zayn really were good. And Sami Zayn was great here, and Cesaro was absolutely fantastic. So overall, I thought this was great. It was a great way to build up to their NXT arrival match. And that was the end of This Is NXT. Overall, I actually enjoyed it. It's really nice to kind of watch the this more of an historical standpoint to see what NXT once was. And obviously, it has that great match between Antonio Cesaro and Sami Zayn in the 2 out of 3 falls match. And it's just kind of really nice to watch this. It's kind of nice to see where NXT has grown since then. So from an historical standpoint, I really enjoyed this show. If you were just going to watch this just to watch a good wrestling show, this isn't the show for you because it only has one match on it, being the 2 out of 3 falls match between Antonio Cesaro and Sami Zayn. But definitely check it out for that. But, you know, it's nice to see what NXT has become, and it's kind of like, in a way, a documentary on NXT. So I really enjoyed it for that reason. Now I'm actually going to start watching the NXT Arrival show itself. And so let's get right into that. Okay, so now on to the pre-show. Now, obviously, like I said, I couldn't actually find video footage of the pre-show because of the fact that I don't know, they don't have it on the network, they don't have it online. I guess they don't want people to see it. I don't know why the hell you can't find the pre-show anywhere, but you can't. So I found an article on it. But before I do that, let me say what matches are going to be on the show, like I normally do with all my past pay-per-view reviews. So let's get right into it. So we're going to have Sami Zayn versus Cesaro, Mojo Rawley versus CJ Parker, NXT Tag Team Championship match, NXT Tag Team Champions The Ascension versus Too Cool, NXT Women's Championship match, NXT Women's Champion Paige versus Emma, Tyler Breeze versus Xavier Woods, and then the main event, a ladder match for the NXT Championship, NXT Champion Bo Dallas versus Adrian Neville. Now that I've gone through all the matches, let me read you the article about the pre-show. So I'll just read it word for word because I can't find it. So the WWE Network will kick off their first pay-per-view, WWE NXT Arrival, from Full Sail Live in Winter Park, Florida, shortly. Richard Notfall will be handling play-by-play, and I will be vlogging thoughts over the course of the evening. They are doing a second screen with the show. I'll keep an eye on it and let you know what they have indeed on that front as well. Renee Young is outside of Full Sail. So this is what's actually going on now. Renee Young is outside of Full Sail Live doing the pre-show with Paul Heyman, Kevin Nash, and Bret Hart. That sounds like a pretty good panel, but so it sucks I can't actually watch it. Nash said it was his wife's birthday, and he passed that up to be here. Boy, is he in trouble. And boy, he probably was in trouble. They played the NXT promotional video that was used to at the network launch. It's a great video. I'm just gonna go by him if it's great or not. Heyman said NXT meant the next generation. He said that we'll find the next Hall of Famer and WrestleMania main eventers here. I sure hope so. They went to a promotional video on the Performance Center. It's weird to hear them talking about wrestlers developing their characters on the show they are performing on. Nash was asked about how the Performance Center would have meant to his career when he was training. Nash joked about how he would have been the most aerial wrestler ever. Nash was pretty funny. Bret Hart said that what they have is an amazing process. He said he was proud to come out of the dungeon. Big pop and a chant. Hote Mike made him sound like Merman in the old He-Man cartoon. Some of this stuff, like, you can't really read. So Paul Heyman said he was looking for the next big thing. They aired a video on stars who came through NXT. The Shield stopped the video and complained about the Wyatts, claimed they laid the foundation of NXT when it was really them. Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns argued over whether Roman mask it was a camel or a llama. That was funny. Nash said he doesn't want any part of the NWO versus the Shield. Well, unless it's an easy payday. Bret Hart said talked about the Wyatts and said they are the crazy, and there something to be said. There is something to be said about breeding weird. They are pushing the Shield versus the Wyatts since the arena, even in the show. So they had Paul Heyman ask a fan why he was there. The fan, who was wearing a Heyman guy's shirt, asked for a selfie with Heyman. He said he was here to see the future. A woman said the same thing. Heyman said it was about the product. It was nice to Paul in that sort of role again. They previewed Emma versus Paige, which I'll do that right now. The reason why Emma versus Paige was happening, like I mentioned earlier in this video, Paige defeated Emma in the finals to become the first ever NXT Women's Champion. So then Emma won a number one contenders dance-off to become the number one contender, and then she defended it against everybody, so that eventually led to Paige versus Emma. Pretty simple there. They showed Natalya talking with Emma in the ring earlier today and giving her advice. She told Emma to enjoy the moment and hugged her. It was a good segment. Then they then had Tensai sit down with Paige to discuss her title defense. Paige has a really cool, unique look. Paige was mad about Emma has been dancing around on the main roster while Paige has been defending the belt. She had said she didn't think Emma could handle the belt and that she wasn't going to be letting it go. That sounds like a pretty good promo by Paige. Renee Young said there were mystery opponents against NXT Tag Team Champions The Ascension tonight. I'm guessing they faced the New Age Outlaws, but we'll see. It wasn't the New Age Outlaws. They moved on to the NXT title belt, which I'll talk about the build-up. So the reason why this match was happening was because Adrian Neville had won a number one contenders match to become the number one contender to Bo Dallas's NXT Championship. And Bo Dallas ended up getting himself disqualified, so they had a rematch. And a lumberjack match was Bo Dallas was able to keep the NXT Championship. And then eventually Adrian Neville was able to defeat Bo Dallas in a 15 minutes of fame match or something. And it led to the rematch. And Triple H decided, because it was a big show, he wanted it to be in a ladder match. So that's the build-up right there. What else? But yeah, Bret Hart and Kevin Nash talked about the respective first WWF title wins and how important it is to achieve a championship win. Heyman said that when Lesnar won his first WWE title, it was emotional for him, and Lesnar is not an emotional man. They went on to Alex Riley interviewing NXT champ Bo Dallas. Dallas doing a smile deal and said that he scared lightning and spiders, but not Adrian Neville. He talked about how he would retain and said he would leave at it. Like I said, some of the words come out weird. They said Neville turned down all interviews requests in order to prepare, but we would hear from him at the end of NXT Arrival. Bret put him over as a great wrestler and said Dallas could be his Achilles tendon. I think he meant heel. Nash said he spent his career with Shawn Michaels, who wasn't afraid to tell the world he was the showstopper, so he was going with Bo because of his cockiness. Heyman said the winner would be the guy who wins, typical Heyman response. NXT GM said he was proud to bring something they know is special to the masses. They are going to open with Cesaro versus Sami Zayn. This is a hell of a kickoff to the show. They close with a Cesaro versus Zayn video, good, and then that's it. This showed all these laser lights and... Okay, so that was pretty much it for the pre-show, I guess. The pre-show, when you read it, actually sounds pretty good. I really wish I could watch it, but I can't. But yeah, other matches for the build-up, though. Like I said, NXT Tag Team title match, there really wasn't much of a reason for that match. They just... the Ascension had won the NXT Tag Team titles, and they were a dominant tag team. No one was able to stop them, so that's kind of why they're... Mojo Rawley and CJ Parker was just randomly thrown there, and Tyler Breeze versus Xavier Woods was randomly thrown on there, so that's all the storylines going into this show. But, yeah, now that I've actually gone through the pre-show and stuff, let's actually start reviewing the show itself. Okay, so now we have the actual show itself, and before the show opens up, it opens up with the arena all dark. You know, but you see some glimmers of light, and then you hear Triple H's voice saying, "Are you ready?" And he says, "Are you ready for NXT?" And then he says that this is NXT, and you guys wanted a new generation. Well, the new generation has arrived. I thought it was great, and obviously it made sense for him to open the show since he was the one that created NXT, so I thought that made complete sense. And then Triple H says, no, and then it shows the video package of like all the past superstars, and then it shows like the opening Titantron of all the current superstars. Well, now they're the past superstars, obviously, but you get what I'm saying. And then we get the actual show. We had William Regal, Tom Phillips, and Byron Saxton on commentary for this show. I thought they all did, except for Tom Phillips, but I thought they all did phenomenal on commentary. I thought William Regal, I thought, was really good on commentary. He was really good at explaining why the move hurts, what the purpose is. Byron Saxton, I thought, was really good at being a babyface commentator, and Tom Phillips was really the play-by-play guy, even though William Regal called more moves than he did. And obviously now William Regal is now the general manager of NXT. Tom Phillips is now he still commentates for NXT, but he also commentates for SmackDown and 205 Live. And Byron Saxton now does commentary. He did commentary for NXT for a while, but then he got caught up. He commentated both shows. He commentated both Raw and SmackDown. And then he also just went on to just commentate Raw, and then he was recently drafted over to SmackDown. And now he does commentary for SmackDown. So you know, Byron Saxton's done pretty well for himself. And we had the first match on the show. It was Sami Zayn versus Cesaro. And Sami Zayn, actually, I meant to mention this in the 2 out of 3 Falls match they had. Sami Zayn actually had different music than he has now. He had more of a generic theme song, so I'm glad they changed his theme song. I didn't hate this song, but the song that he has now fits him way better. And Cesaro came out to different themes, to a different theme song in this match than he did in the last match. He came out to his singles theme song. He came out to the Real Americans theme song. And this match was incredible. Like, it was awesome. This was a match that was good in-win wise, but it also was good based on storytelling. But the match starts off. They both start chain wrestling each other. Sami Zayn then hits a Hurricanrana, driving Cesaro out of the ring, and then he hits a flip dive over the top rope. And then eventually Cesaro starts to pick apart Sami Zayn. He throws him into the. Eventually, Sami Zayn goes for a crossbody. Cesaro counters into a backbreaker, and Cesaro just picks apart Sami Zayn. He throws him into the barricade. He viciously picks him apart. He throws him in the barricade. He really utilizes the outside of the ring to his advantage. He slams him in the ring right on the apron hold. And then he tries to target his left knee and bash it against the post, but Sami Zayn uses his feet to force Cesaro to go shoulder first into the steel post, and Sami Zayn tries to hit that DDT through the ropes on the outside, but Cesaro counters with an uppercut, which was awesome. And then Cesaro attacks the knee of Sami Zayn, drives it against the post, and Cesaro spends several minutes just viciously picking apart the knee of Sami Zayn. He hits a double stomp right on his knee, and he just picks apart the knee of Sami Zayn, which I thought was awesome. Eventually, Sami Zayn tries to make a comeback. He ends up hitting a sick clothesline on Cesaro. However, since Sami Zayn took more damage because of the knee, Cesaro was able to get to his feet first, and he hits a gut-wrench suplex. And Cesaro continuously picks apart Sami Zayn. He throws him out of the ring, and he tries to powerbomb Zayn on the outside, but Sami Zayn fights back, goes for a springboard moonsault on the outside, and Cesaro catches him, hits a power slam right on the ramp, which was sick. And Cesaro tries to get Sami Zayn counted out, but Sami Zayn just beats the count back in the ring. And Cesaro continues to pick apart Sami Zayn. He hits an uppercut in the corner, and he covers him. And so Sami Zayn then is able to kick out, but he reverses it into a cover himself. And then Cesaro goes for another running uppercut. Sami Zayn catches him into an exploder suplex in the corner and covers him. Cesaro kicks out. Then he goes for a Blue Thunder Bomb, but Cesaro's just too strong to lift him up for it. Sami Zayn's able to hit the Blue Thunder Bomb the second time. And Cesaro kicks out again. And Sami Zayn and Cesaro continue to go at each other. Cesaro starts to hit uppercuts in the corner. Sami Zayn kicks out of that. Sami Zayn gets him into the Corkia, I believe it's called, clutch, where he grabs his knees around Cesaro, but Cesaro is able to reverse it, and he stretches his leg back, Sami Zayn's leg back over the back of his head, and Sami Zayn's able to get to the ropes, and the referee calls for the break. And then Cesaro goes after the knee of Sami Zayn some more. Sami Zayn hits a kick right onto Cesaro, and he prods him up on the turnbuckle, and he goes for a Hurricanrana. Cesaro tries to counter it into a neutralizer off the turnbuckle, but Sami Zayn's able to reverse it to a Hurricanrana off the top. And then Sami Zayn hits a haluva kick in the corner and covers Cesaro. Cesaro's able to kick out, and Sami Zayn at this point just doesn't know what to do. But then Sami Zayn and Cesaro continue to fight it out. Cesaro hits an uppercut on Zayn after uppercut, and he hits 3 of them on him, and he tells Sami Zayn to stay down. And then Sami Zayn continues to get to his feet, and he starts firing back with right hands. But then Cesaro hits a big boot on Zayn, goes for the neutralizer. Sami Zayn counters into a roll-up. Cesaro kicks out, and then Sami Zayn hits a running sunset flip power bomb on Cesaro. Cesaro kicks out of that, and then Cesaro hits a running uppercut. Sami Zayn kicks out at 1, which was a big surprise to me. And then he eventually hits a running uppercut again, and the neutralizer for the win, and Cesaro goes over. Obviously, this was fine. You could say, why did Cesaro win? He's on the main roster. He didn't really need the victory. Well, they were kind of doing something with him at the time. He was just in the Elimination Chamber match to fight for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. It wouldn't have made sense to have Cesaro come in here and lose. And also, this was also building up to that great story where Sami Zayn was chasing after that NXT Championship, and he had been losing a lot. So it obviously added to that story, and it then eventually, though, the reason why Sami Zayn really wanted this match is because he wanted to earn the respect of Cesaro. And afterwards, Cesaro gets in the ring, shakes his hand, and raises it, and pretty much did earn the respect of Cesaro. So Sami Zayn, even though he didn't win, he still earned the respect of Cesaro, and I think it's better that if he didn't, if he gave it all he had to Cesaro, but just came up short, than if he just beat him and then Cesaro. It still would have worked, I guess, but I feel like the effect works better with Sami Zayn losing and getting the respect anyways because he gave it all he had. And, it fit that underdog storyline as Sami Zayn, so I thought it worked perfectly. So overall, this match, if I had to rate it out of 5 stars, I would rate it, it's a perfect, I would say a 4.5-star match, just because there was some, I thought the beginning was a little bit sloppy, but from bell to bell, pretty much, though, this match was awesome. I really enjoyed it. And a great opening match. And this was a great way to introduce NXT for the fans that hadn't seen it. Put in Cesaro out there as somebody that the fans had already known. And obviously this, when I think of an NXT special event, I always think of this first match between Sami Zayn and Cesaro because it's great. Well, it's not just great, it's incredible. I actually forgot to mention the aftermath of this match because I was so wrapped up in it. So I'll mention it. Cesaro, I already mentioned where he went. Sami Zayn went on to continue that story about chasing the NXT Championship. He would continue to lose to build up that story. And then eventually at NXT TakeOver All Evolution, Sami Zayn went on to finally win the NXT Championship. And, it was obviously a great story. Now he's on the main roster. He didn't really have a good start on the main roster. It was an okay start. He feuded, he had a big feud, but then once that feud ended, he just kind of floundered for a while. But now he's on SmackDown. Maybe he can finally get some use and work with some guys on SmackDown, but we'll have to wait and see. But overall, Sami Zayn benefited from this match short term, and I'd say maybe a little bit long term wise. And obviously, Cesaro, this match wouldn't have benefited him, it wouldn't have hurt him. He pretty much would have stayed the same. Next match was Mojo Rawley versus CJ Parker. You guys remember him? This match was just kind of there. I think they wanted a match to kill the crowd after that great Cesaro Sami Zayn match, which is understandable. And I guess they wanted, so they just threw this match on here. I think this was when they were really high on Mojo Rawley, which I guess still say they're kind of out now. So they wanted to get him on the show. Don't know why they didn't put Aiden English on the show instead of CJ Parker, but whatever. This match was just kind of a match you'd see on any NXT TV, on NXT television. But Mojo Rawley wins with Hyperdrive, and then that was it. And I already mentioned where Mojo Rawley went, but obviously CJ Parker ended up being released, I believe, about a year. And then that was it for him, so whatever. I don't really think they wanted to do anything with him. He was just kind of someone that's always there. He had potential with the whole gimmick where he wanted people to recycle and stuff, and he hated people polluting the world, but they didn't do anything with him. So, yeah, there you go. Alright, so then it has a video package for Emma. And I can't believe I forgot about her first gimmick. She pretty much talks about how, it shows her with the bubbles, and everybody was just like, and the person's like, are you distracted? Are you paying attention? She's like, yeah. And she says that, she's starting her own revolution called the Evolution, and it's a gimmick where you do this. I believe that was that. I don't know. And she says that she's starting the Evolution, and she was talking about how she was self-trained, and it shows her all the moments where Renee Young was trying to steal a bubbles, like, you can't have them, they're my bubbles. And obviously the gimmick was that she was the dancer, she loved the bubbles, and they tried putting it up to the main roster, and it didn't work. I definitely think it worked in NXT, but I've talked about it a ton of times on this channel. Is that sometimes the things that's just translated on NXT, and the main roster. NXT has a completely different crowd. It's more of a indie crowd, and the main roster has those casual fans that only watch Raw and SmackDown. So it's kind of tough to get that over on the that crowd. So it's pretty. So I think that's what Emma suffered from, and I'll get into what happened to Emma. Alright, so next it shows a video package for the Ascension, who were the NXT Tag Team Champions. And damn, they suck. I can't believe I didn't notice back then how much they sucked, but they sucked. So they were just pretty much showing all the devastation, them obliterating the entire NXT Tag Team division. And I don't know if they were yet, but they were like the longest rated NXT Tag Team Champions, which I hope changes soon because they don't deserve that right. So that's about it. Okay, so next was a NXT Tag Team Championship match. NXT Tag Team Champions, The Ascension versus Too Cool. It was really cool to see Too Cool back in the WWE win. They were a great tag team in the Attitude Era, but other than that, this match was just an average tag match. I mean, it was all right. The Ascension sucked though. Like, they suck. Like, why did they ever sign the Ascension and keep them down in NXT? They sucked. Oh my gosh. But the Ascension pretty much annihilate Grandmaster Sexay until Scotty Too Hotty gets the hot tag, starts going off on Victor. He goes for the worm, but Victor pulls him against the rope because he sucks and doesn't want us to see the worm. And then he hits a running STO on Scotty Too Hotty. And then the Ascension hit the Fall of Man for the win, which they haven't hit since like they bid on the main roster, because the aftermath of this match came. They would go on to hold the NXT Tag Team titles, and they would lose them at NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way. And they would have a couple more tag matches in NXT. And then eventually they would go on to the main roster and continue to suck. And Too Cool just kind of, this was a one-time appearance, so they didn't really go anywhere from this match because it was a one-time appearance, but it was cool to see Too Cool wrestling. It definitely upped the match, and, they did their thing in the match. It's just you can't progress the Ascension because they suck. So, overall, if I had to, so I didn't rate, so the Mojo Rawley CJ Parker match, I give that like a 1.5 stars. Next, it shows a Paige video package, and it's really weird for me to watch Paige, like I said, nowadays because of the whole Xavier Woods, Brad Maddox scandal. She says that, she introduces herself, and she says that a diva is supposed to be brass, they're supposed to have gray hair, and she's like, no, that's not what I am. I'm here to wrestle, I'm here to dominate people, just like she dominated Xavier Woods, and Brad Maddox. And she said that she normally doesn't cry, but when she won the NXT Women's Championship, it made her cry. She was probably thinking about the thing she was gonna, and she says that, but she was probably thinking about the thing she was gonna do with that title, and she did a lot of things with that championship. And she said that she's willing to fight like hell to keep this title, so she can do the things that she did with the title. And I'm surprised people will try to fight for that championship, but whatever. And she says that that's what she beat the other competitors for, right? That's why she wants the other competitors. She wants to fight all the other competitors. Well, she definitely fought Xavier Woods for that title, and Brad Maddox, so yeah. And they all came out winners. So that's good for them. Okay, next match was a NXT Women's Championship match. NXT Women's Champion Paige versus Emma. And before the match starts, Stephanie McMahon comes out. And she pretty much is the ring announcer for this match. Everyone was chanting, "You still got it," at her. And then she says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I never lost it." Which I like that line. And she talks about how NXT Arrival is the first live show to air on the network, not WrestleMania 30. And she says that that women are going to prove that they can do this better than men can, and how there's like a Divas Revolution, and she says what the true meaning of being a diva is, and then she introduces both women, and Stephanie shakes both their hands. She holds up the NXT Women's title, and we get the match. That match I thought was really good. This was a really good NXT Women's Championship match. I like the way it started. They both women just really went at each other because these women really don't like each other. Because of, they have a lot of history behind them. Emma had waited for months for this title match. And Paige went for the Paige Emma. Emma counters. Emma goes for a slingshot. Paige counters into a roll-up. A lot of counters in the beginning. And then eventually, Paige hits like 6 knees while she's outside the ring. And then Paige starts screaming. Emma hits a dropkick, which drives Paige back first on the apron. And then she hits the, what's it called? The dilemma, because it's been so long since Emma's wrestled, so. The dilemma, and then she hits the Emma sandwich in the corner, covers her. Paige kicks out. Then she gets Paige into a submission for a while. Paige is able to fight out of it, but Emma still is able to take control. She hits a sit-out powerbomb on Paige. Paige kicks out, and then Paige starts to make a comeback, and she hits the Paige turner, covers her. Emma kicks out, and this was the first time anybody had kicked out of the Paige turner, so Paige had to figure out what to do. So then she decides to put in the cross-legged Scorpion Deathlock on Emma. And Emma ends up tapping out, so Paige retains the championship. Afterwards, they shake hands and hug it out afterwards, and just because they're based on respect. And I thought this was a really good NXT Women's title match, really back and forth. And this match, I talked about this. This match really set the bar for women's wrestling now. I talked about this earlier. This setup, the women's wrestling we see now, that started, I believe, with this match, with Paige versus Emma. Paige and Emma started like a women's revolution. That started in NXT, and Paige and Emma were the pioneers of it. So I think that's interesting. And obviously, we know where these women went off. Emma went on to be called up to the main roster. Really didn't do much. I remember she got released because she was accused of shoplifting, so they released her. So then they found out it wasn't true. So it's like, okay, you could come back. And then she pretty much just did nothing on the main roster. She came back to NXT, revitalized her career, and she became more aggressive as a heel. And she really revitalized her career. And then she went back up to the main roster, got an injury. So then they were going to give her the Emelina gimmick, where she was like a supermodel, but she couldn't pull off the gimmick. It was all a swerve. It was all, no, not a swerve. It was all a tease, a twirl, I meant to say. And then now she's back to Emma, and now she's doing pretty well, I guess. Paige, I obviously mentioned what she's doing personally, but she went on to get called up to the main roster after WrestleMania. She would become a 3-time Divas champion, and was that 3-time Divas champion? Actually, no. I think it was I think she's a 2-time Divas champion. Let me make sure on that. Because I swear she's a 3-time Divas champion. I might be thinking of somebody else. No, she's only a 2-time Divas champion. I thought she was 3-time. No, okay, so I was wrong. So Paige is a 2-time Divas champion, and really, but she really didn't do all that much. They actually kind of ruined her on the main roster. They took away they didn't really make her as much of an anti-diva anymore. Very rarely had matches. Was randomly turning face and heel left and right, and yeah, obviously she didn't give a shit anymore, so she left. And now she's with somebody that's ruining her WWE career, in Alberto Del Rio. So fuck you, Del Rio. And yeah, whatever. Paige is just making a lot of weird decisions. Now they have that whole thing being leaked with Paige having sex with Xavier Woods and Brad Maddox with the NXT Women's title. And obviously now I can't watch a Paige match the same. I wasn't able to watch this match the same. So yeah. Really interesting. But overall, really good match. Probably rated a 3. I rate the match 3.5 stars. Next, it shows a Adrian Neville video package. building him up for the NXT Championship match with Bo Dallas. He talks about how he does. He says that he does the weight moves that he does in the ring. A lot of people ask him how he's able to do that, and he says because that's just him. And he says that he loves the adrenaline of the feeling that he lands when he goes off his feet. And he says that he's looking forward to being in the ladder match because his type of style, it allows him to excel in that because he's the guy that gravity forgot. And overall, great video package by Adrian Neville. I really enjoyed it. Alright, so next we had Xavier Woods versus Tyler Breeze. The match never happens. Alexander Rusev with Lana comes out, and Alexander Rusev just brutalizes everybody. He super kicks Xavier Woods. He beats the shit out of Tyler Breeze. It's a fall-away slam on him. And then he gets like a one-handed spine buster on Xavier Woods and gets him in the accolade for a long-ass time. And then Lana gets on the mic and says, "People of America, rise for the super athlete Alexander Rusev." And then he says something in, I don't know, Bulgaria that I didn't understand, and then he leaves. It was just kind of there, but I liked it because it was cool to see Alexander Rusev just crush everybody. And obviously the aftermath that this match came, I believe Xavier Woods would go on to have a match with Alexander Rusev where he would get absolutely squashed. Tyler Breeze and Xavier Woods would have a match a couple of weeks later where Tyler Breeze would go on to win, and I already mentioned the long-term benefits of where Xavier Woods and Tyler Breeze went. But I forgot Alexander Rusev was even on this show. Let me mention where he went. So he went on to debut on the main roster and won an absolute tear. Eventually his name was just shortened to Rusev because WWE likes to shorten people's names just like they did with Cesaro. Rusev went on to win the United States Championship from Sheamus. And then he went on to lose it to John Cena at WrestleMania. Floundered for a while. And then he went on to randomly win back the U.S. title again. Lost it to Roman Reigns. Then he did nothing. And then now he's injured. So, Rusev hasn't really gone far in WWE. He's pretty much stayed at the exact same spot. He hasn't. He was really hot. He was a hot act before John Cena got to him, and then he lost to Roman Reigns. So they've had two opportunities to push him, but they pretty much just fed him to Reigns and Cena. What a great fucking way to use somebody. Fuck you. But I gotta say, Rusev has improved a huge amount since this show. He's still he was alright on this show, but he's great now. Like, Rusev's rules now. Like, he's awesome. Okay, so next it shows a video package for Bo Dallas, and pretty much his whole gimmick was that he was an inspiration to everybody. He talks about his dominance in NXT, how he was the champion for 224 days. He was the longest reigning champion at the time. What else? What else? I'm trying to think. Pretty much too. He goes on to talk about how he's an inspiration. It shows him like Photoshop pictures of him going to Australia and things like that. And when people say no more Bo, they said they just want to get to know the champion. And he said that his opponent shouldn't take him lightly and stuff like that. So it was whatever. I don't like Bo Dallas because he sucks. He's not that good. I've mentioned it. He's not that good in the ring. He's not that good on the mic. And I've already mentioned what I thought about him. So I'm done with this. Alright, so then we had the main event. It was a ladder match for the NXT Championship. NXT Champion Bo Dallas versus Adrian Neville. But before the match starts, Shawn Michaels comes out. And he comes out with the NXT Championship. And he gets on the mic and says that I haven't done an entrance like that in a while. He loses his breath. People are chanting things at him like one more match. And he's like, it is tempting for me to have one more match, but do I really want to try to come back here, give up getting fat and lazy to come back and have one more match? He even mentions how he even plugs his DVD that was coming out, and it was pretty funny. He talks about the whole tonight you guys are witnessed in history by seeing the first ever ladder match here in NXT. He talks about his experiences in ladder matches. And then Adrian Neville and Bo Dallas actually come out themselves. And they have the ladder match. And I thought this ladder match was good. It was a little bit disappointing because I was expecting this match to be so much better than what it was. Because Adrian Neville's whole thing was he was the guy, he was the man that Gravity forgot. And he really didn't show that in this match. And then Bo Dallas isn't that good of a wrestler. He wasn't that bad in this match, but he's not the type of person who should be going out there doing ladder matches because his style really doesn't fit ladder matches because his style sucks. But Adrian Neville kicks his ass for a while, and then eventually he tries to dive on him in the outside. Dallas pulls his leg down and he hits the back of his head on the floor. He hits a ton of elbows in the corner, hits a clothesline on him, and then he ties his hand in the rope, his leg in the middle rope, so that way he can just easily go grab a ladder and climb it. But when he goes to win the ladder in the ring, Neville drop kicks the ladder into Bo Dallas. He hits a dive on the floor and just hits a bunch of right hands on Dallas. But then Bo Dallas tosses him into the steps. Dallas tries to go to grab the title, but Neville pulls him down and he lands face first into the apron. But then eventually Bo Dallas traps Neville's hand into the ring apron, and Bo Dallas goes to grab a ladder, goes to hit Neville with it, but Neville moves out of the way. It slides into the ring, and then Neville and Dallas continues to fight with each other. They keep trying to climb the ladder. Bo Dallas tries to climb it while Neville was trapped underneath the ladder, but Neville kicks the ladder with his knees, and Bo Dallas takes like an awkward fall. Neville throws Bo Dallas into the ladder that was like wedged up against the ring into the middle turnbuckle. Bo Dallas throws Neville on the outside hard, and he lands back first on the ring apron, and he tries to grab the ladder. Neville jumps right over him and tries to grab the ladder himself, but eventually Dallas is able to pull him off. Eventually, though, the finish comes when Neville body slams Dallas on the ladder, and then he hits the red arrow right to his dick while he's on the ladder. And then Neville climbs up and grabs the title. Match wasn't bad, but it really wasn't anything special. Well, I shouldn't say that. The match was good, but it didn't live up to expectations. But this was a huge moment for Adrian Neville. It was the first time ever he was NXT champion, and it was probably the biggest moment ever in his WWE career. And he ended up ending Bo Dallas's 259-day reign as NXT champion. So that was impressive. And obviously the aftermath for both these superstars came. Bo Dallas went on to be caught up to the. They would have a rematch a couple of weeks later where Adrian Neville would retain the championship, and then Bo Dallas would be caught up to the main roster, and he would get a push where he was undefeated, but then eventually he just randomly lost a match. He pretty much went into jobber status, joined the Social Outcast. Now he's not in it anymore, and now he's doing the whole believe in both thing, and he never wrestles on Raw. Thank God, because he sucks. Adrian Neville went on to become, at the time anyways, the longest reigning NXT champion, but I think now he's the second longest reigning NXT champion in WWE history. He went on to have fantastic matches with the title against the likes of Tyler Breeze, Sami Zayn, guys like that. He eventually lost it in NXT All Evolution to Sami Zayn. And he got caught up to the main roster the night after WrestleMania 31 in 2015. And his name was shortened to just Neville. That's why it's so weird for me to call him Adrian Neville, because he's been Neville for so long now. And he had like an okay run. He had good matches with Dolph Ziggler, Seth Rollins. He would have decent matches, but then eventually they just didn't really know what to do with him. He got lost in the shuffle. He ended up getting injured, and then he came back, was still kind of lost in the shuffle. But now he ended up joining the Cruiserweight division as a heel. He turned heel, and now he is the king of the Cruiserweights, and he is currently right now the Cruiserweight champion. So Neville, it took him a little while to succeed, but Not much, but I'm always gonna remember this. This is my favorite moment of Neville, or I should say Adrian Neville, is him winning the NXT Championship, because it was a huge moment for him in the first main event of an NXT special, and obviously NXT was really hugely behind Adrian Neville, which I'm obviously happy with, and I think it's great. I really wish WWE had a little more faith in Adrian Neville than the NXT did, because I think because I love seeing the heel Neville, but when I see the old face Neville, I really miss the old face Neville. It's so weird because I like him as a heel. He's doing great things as a heel, but his style just fits a baby face, and I just think he plays the baby face maybe a little bit better than he does. I just think I definitely think he's doing great as a heel. He's doing the best work he's ever done in his career. But if he was a babyface in the cruiserweight division, that would have worked probably a little bit better than I thought it would have. I'm not saying he would be great, but he'd be, I think, good in the cruiserweight, because his style just misses. His style is just so great. And I just don't know what happens to him after the cruiserweight division. I just think after he loses the title, he'll just stay in the cruiserweight division and kind of go like this. I hope that doesn't happen though. I say after he loses the cruiserweight title, you immediately turn him, put him in the IC title picture. I think he'd thrive there. Put him in as a babyface if you want, because I think that would be really cool. And you have him run with as a babyface. Obviously, it's gonna be weird. It's so weird to kind of see Adrian Neville now, because now he's such a sadistic heel now, so it's really weird. But this match though I thought was good. Just expected better because of Adrian Neville's style, and it's a ladder match, so I expected did a little bit better. So I'm gonna rate the match 3 stars. Yeah, 3 stars. And obviously I can't really rate the Xavier Woods Tyler Breeze match because it never happened. So yeah. Alright, so now I'm gonna watch the NXT Arrival Encore show. I don't know what this consists of, but I'm gonna see what it is. So I'll watch it in different takes like I did before. So hope you guys enjoy it. Okay, so the encore presentation just pretty much shows, it's pretty much the same show except it's only an hour long, and the only thing it shows is the Triple H promo, Cesaro versus Sami Zayn, and the NXT title match, including Shawn Michaels promo, so nothing really worth seeing there. I mean, if you've watched this entire show and you wanted to watch the encore presentation, then I would say no, but if you just want to see the Cesaro Sami Zayn match and the ladder match, just watch the encore presentation, because then you get just that. But if you want to watch the entire show, I actually would ask you to just watch NXT Arrival. So that's just what I think there, because I definitely think that NXT Women's title match is worth watching. And I guess the NXT Tag title match if you want to see Too Cool wrestle again. So yeah, so either watch the encore if you just want to see those 2 matches, or if you want to watch the entire show, watch Arrival itself. Alright, so before I actually give my overall thoughts on the show, let me talk about the aftermath, about where this show went. So obviously, I believe it says here that 400 plus showed up to this show. That doesn't sound like a lot, but for NXT standards at the time it was, because this was filmed in Full Sail University. Only a limited amount of people showed up to these things. But the aftermath was huge for NXT. This was a huge launching point for NXT, because this was the first time a lot of people had seen NXT. And this was a great first time to ever see it. You got to see a great opening matchup between Cesaro and Sami Zayn, and just kind of show what Sami Zayn can bring to the table. You showcased, Mojo Rawley, who's not that great at the time. You showcased your tag team division. You showcased what the woman in NXT, because at the time the Divas division and the mainstream WWE was shit. They didn't do shit. So the NXT Women's Division, you showed that if you want to watch women's wrestling, NXT is the place to watch it. And then obviously the ladder match delivers. It showcases Adrian Neville's talents, I think, pretty well, and Bo Dallas, the talents that he had, pretty well. You showcase Alexander Rusev really well. So, yeah. But obviously after this, though, NXT started to grow. NXT would go on to become thin on the WWE Network every Thursday, and now it's on Wednesdays. And NXT just grew into this big thing. Eventually, they started doing specials. A lot of people attended them. They eventually took the show out of Full Sail for the first time at the Arnold Schwarzenegger Classics. Then eventually they started to just travel the world a lot more. They did the first NXT takeover outside of Florida at NXT Takeover Brooklyn in August of 2015. And let me see real quick how many people went. It drew and it drew a crowd of 15,589 fans. What else can I say about this show? What else? Let me read the aftermath to you, and maybe it will tell you. It says, in response to viewers who had technical issues watching the show. Okay, that's not what I wanted. Okay, it doesn't show the stuff I wanted it to show. But NXT grew into this big empire. Everybody was talking about NXT. It became the best thing in wrestling for a while. It says, for reception, I'll just kind of read it to you. The Wrestling Observer newsletter reported that about 200 ticket holders who had purchased NXT were not allowed in because Full Sail University had oversold the 400-seat theater, so that's pretty impressive. The newsletter also received a lot of feedback on people unable to watch the show. Because at the time, like I said, this was a time when the network was sucking. Yeah, so one thing that was... I think I had the same problems at the time was when... that there was a lot of technical issues at the time. So, you know, the stream cuts out a lot and stuff. But Live will be in a phenomenal show. It has a great, you know, Sammy. But NXT obviously was just something that was changing the face of wrestling. Everybody, it became the place to be. A lot of new faces would show up in NXT. You know, the main ones were eventually when they lost like the Bo Dallas's and stuff. Eventually, a lot of people go to NXT to revitalize their career, like Tyson Kidd did. He went to NXT. And wrestled Neville for the title at NXT TakeOver. Rhino was recently in NXT. He was there in 2015, and then he went back in 2016. Too Cool was in NXT. You've had a lot of the. I mean, think about it like this. A lot of the roster now are guys from NXT. Let's list all the champions. Okay, we can't really list Brock Lesnar, the WWE Universal Champion, because he was a wrestler before that. But Dean Ambrose, a guy who came from NXT. So Dean Ambrose, obviously not the Hardy Boys because they weren't in NXT. But Bayley, NXT. WWE champion obviously is Randy Orton, so he didn't come from NXT. But Kevin Owens, a guy who came from NXT. SmackDown Tag Champions obviously not someone that came from NXT. The SmackDown Women's Champion technically is someone that came from NXT, but not really. And then the Cruiserweight Champion though right now is Neville, and he came from NXT. And the UK champion, well, I can't really say the UK champion, but a lot of the champions, the main event of WrestleMania this year had an NXT alumni in it. You know, a lot NXT just grew. They signed all these indie guys like Shinsuke Nakamura, Samoa Joe, Austin Aries, Bobby Roode, you know, Eric Young, Apollo Crews. Everybody wanted to be in NXT. It was the place to be. Everybody wanted to get in NXT. Everybody loved NXT. They, you know, NXT has its own chant now called NXT. We are NXT, and it just grows. You know, they have great tournaments. They have they have the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classics every year now. So NXT just grew into like this big thing. And it's definitely interesting to see where it was. Even on this show, You know, this was like the introduction of NXT, but everybody loved NXT. It was an easy show to sit through all the time because it was only an hour versus like a Raw or a SmackDown that was 3 to 2. That was either 3 hours or 2 hours. So NXT just grew and grew and grew. It became a huge thing. Everybody wanted to be a part of NXT. So I just think NXT grew huge. NXT is still around today. It's not as big as it was in 2015 and stuff, but it's still really good. NXT has made a lot of changes too. They always adapt, I think. And NXT was that adaptation for wrestling fans. It has good storytelling and it has great in-ring action. So I think NXT is actually a great product to watch. And obviously the show. And I'll just give you my overall thoughts on the show. I thought the show was really good. I really enjoyed it. That opening match between Sami Zayn and Cell was a great storytelling match. The tag match, the NXT tag team title match is a pretty good match. Because it's cool to see two cool wrestle, and you really put over the Ascension huge and a dominant victory. The NXT women's title match is really good, and it really set the bar today to what women's matches are now. And seeing Alexander Rusev come out and crush people is really cool, but yeah, I'll admit it was pointless. And the NXT, the main event on this show is, I think, a good match, even though it's not as great as it could be, but it's still a good match, and it has that moment when Adrian Neville won the title. And I just think about it like this: you can't really say this show is bad, because if this show had failed, we probably wouldn't have. WWE would have just said, you know what, we're not putting NXT on the network if you're gonna give a shit. So I look at this show as a success because it helped introduce NXT and it helped redefine NXT. And it was definitely interesting to me. Watching NXT now than what it was when it was the competition show, and it was becoming just a huge joke. And NXT really started to grow here, and it was great. People were talking about this show. Everybody loved this show. So overall, I think this show was a huge success. It really helped define what NXT really was. So if I'm going to rate this show, I'm probably going to rate it a 7.5. It's a great show, historically, and just a great in-ring show overall. But that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please make sure to subscribe, and I'll try to come back at some point tomorrow to make another to make episode 2 of this series, because I expected to have this up. I wanted to have this up yesterday, but it's midnight now. What happened is I got stuck making my 400 subscribers shout out video, and that ended up being longer than I thought it was. I got up later than I wanted to today, so I apologize for that, but that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.